Yes, guys. Welcome back to Nuclear Reaction Faction. We're back to the Chris Chan's Horrifying History full documentary by Turkey Tom, and this is part 4 of our reaction. Let's get it popping.
2008, there was a great quiet before the storm. That is, besides Chris getting some anal beads that came with another one of his purchases, and Megan
straight in with some debauchery.
living under the same roof as him due to her having issues with her family.
Okay. So for context, this girl Megan, yeah, I'll call her a woman Megan because she's over 18, but like this lass, yeah, I'll call her a lass. She really doesn't like Chris. She tries to. She puts in a lot of effort to get along with Chris, but he's very inappropriate and touchy and gropey with her. And at least, and it's a Turkey Tom video, so at least she's over 18. Yeah, I'll give him that. But he's really, I don't want to use the word, really touchy feely, R-y, like the R-wordy, and for her to actually come and live under his roof, man, the crap she'd have to put up with, she must have had some serious problems.
Reputation for touchiness, I'm sure she tried to keep her time there as short as possible. Their uneasy, but not quite all negative relationship survived until early March, when Megan emailed Chris thanking him for a trade and consoling him over being banned from his local church, which later we find out happened because the pastor found out about his ED page. The tune suddenly changes to a very different one come the 12th, when Chris emails her profusely apologizing, saying he was caught up in the rage when he did that, followed by a string of, "Megan, I'm sorry for hurting you." It's worth noting he doesn't specify what he's apologizing for exactly. This may seem like a random thing, but it's actually because, in their communications outside of emails, Chris was trying to pretend that the girl in the drawing wasn't Megan, but Crystal, as the trolls had supposed. At the time of sending this email, he hadn't quite let go of that lie, hence the vague language he uses. He also promises to take the ED page down, or his name isn't Christian Weston Chandler, which is interesting considering it used to be Christopher and eventually would become Christine, but that's for later. The next day, he emails her again with some quote-unquote detective work on this 4chan fella that's been ruining his life. In this one, he does specify that he was the one that made the drawing, giving up trying to dodge that particular bullet. On the same day, Megan replied saying, "I just don't know what to say now. I'm very much scared by that image and it will never leave me."
Oh, okay. This is interesting. I don't know if I mentioned this before. The reason Tom misread scarred and said scared is because when the brain reads things, it usually takes the first letter and the last letter and then fills in the rest, and that's how we read so quickly. So by context, the brain fills in the gaps, and that's how we read. But because scared works as good in that sentence as scarred does, Tom misread it as scared because the brain filled in the gaps, and it looks like, yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know why I said that. I'm sorry,
I can't decide what's worse, the image in general, or the fact you intentionally drew it and gave it to the webmaster for that site that you hate so much. Not only have you poured gas on the fire by doing that, adding obscenities to the already horrific site,
he drew a picture of this lass doing not safe for work things.
But you've also embarrassed and humiliated me and degraded and demeaned me, whether you realize it or not. I mean, I'm not that kind of girl, and you know what? So why? And you also lied to me about it. So I'm unsure what to do about this. I can't say I really think of you the same way anymore. I'm sorry to say. I will continue to give the remaining items for the Zune, and that will be all the contact you will have with me unless I decide otherwise. I hope you understand. So we'll let time decide how I feel about this current situation. Until then, please don't come up to me anymore unless it's to give you what I owe, which seems kind of awkward now. I know how it feels to be alone, but I can't keep throwing away my pride little by little just to keep you satisfied. You know what I mean? There has to be an enough is enough at some point, and I cannot continue to disgrace myself by forgiving things that I never find forgivable in the first place. I'd like for you to just completely leave me alone for a while until I can sort things out myself. You understand?
So he is very touchy-feely with her, even though she says repeatedly to him, "Don't touch me. I see it as sexual harassment, blah, blah, blah." And he's basically assaulting her. Like, if she says, like, if she's getting sexually harassed and he won't listen to her and he keeps touching her, that's assault, surely. I don't know how she's got so much patience. I honestly think that she saw some of herself in Chris, like some social awkwardness and maybe even some like residual teenage angst or something like that, yeah. And she related to him on a level and felt like kind of safe and secure with him. But then he got all touchy-feely, and I don't know how she dealt with it, to be honest with you. Well, she's cutting him off now, finally.
It's not like I hate you, but I don't see you in the same light anymore. So just leave me be for a while. Let me try to recuperate with my few other friends. And maybe we can just start from scratch sometime.
You shouldn't have to recuperate from something a friend has done. If you, like, they're not really a friend if you have to recuperate from their actions. Do you get me?
Despite this message having a much more final perspective on Chris and Megan's relationship by...
Like, you can see that she's a little bit socially awkward. I can tell things from pictures. So I think that's how they related. And then, you know, it just went bad.
Let me try to recuperate with my few other friends. And maybe we can just start from scratch sometime. Despite this message having a much more final perspective on Chris and Megan's relationship, by some unexplainable reason, she still leaves a window open for possible reconciliation in the future. Chris, in his all-enduring grace, sees this charitable reluctance to completely cut ties with him as an opportunity to cork out the gnarliest, gigantic turd on it. Here's what he replied with. I understand, you may or may not have had much exposure to sexual images as I've had, so the idea of a hand job, which was the act drawn there, as a part of outer course versus...
Wait, what the flipping hell is outer course? I see myself as quite an experienced geezer, yeah, but outer course I have never heard of. I'm not even, I imagine it's a figment of his imagination, yeah, but... if it's a real thing, I am not searching for it online. I don't want anything that comes from Chris. I don't want to search online.
Intercourse was a surprise to you. I'm sorry. If it helps put things in perspective, I can recommend finding information on the internet through this educational website I found through adameve.com.
Is it just me, or is he trying to, like, even though she's of age, he's trying to flipping groom her so that she's more desensitized to this sexual content, so that he can hopefully continue drawing NSFW pictures of her, and then even try and break her down slowly over time until he can finally have sex with her. Oh yeah, I've got a theory as well, yeah, which I think is quite interesting. I think the reason he transitions into a woman, if you didn't know that, sorry for the spoiler, I think the reason he transitions into a woman is because he tries his whole life to get with a woman, yeah, and have sex with them, and he fails completely his whole life, bless him, which I sympathize with him for, you know, like, I can't relate, but I do sympathize, and he ended up just becoming a woman. Like, if you can't beat him, join him.
I recommend renting The 40-Year-Old Virgin. That movie touches on some of the issues around sex and how it can really frustrate an older virgin who hasn't had the pleasure yet, or I can loan you my copy of The 40-Year-Old Virgin. The point is allowing yourself more exposure to sex acts to make yourself more comfortable with that fact of life.
No. He wants you to be more comfortable with him.
I am on the verge of taking that Encyclopedia Dramatica page down. I understand that there are a number of other web pages of hate against me, and as much as I would like to be able to track down everyone and report them and get on the verge of taking them down as well, someone else may put up another hate page up against me. It's a fact of this modern world known as cyberbullying. As for the drawings, while I have shoved the text information down their throat in an attempt to drown them into submission, there were too many images of penises. Yetch on there. I drew drawings promoting vagina to go against those dickheads. I did the drawing of Sonichu fucking Rosachu. I did the drawing of Bubbles getting it from Black Sonichu. I had the idea of
wait, so he's gone into he's mixing up genres here. He's gone into interracial NSFW pictures of cartoons. Where else is he gonna go? I don't know.
Comic book anyway. I did the drawings of Angelica and Mary Lee Walsh, that witch hag masturbating, and I did draw the drawings of me giving you a hand job from among my adult fantasies, with your eyes censored to conceal your identity. It was a massive step outside of my boundaries, and I did it out of anger, and I regret having done it. And I'm really, really sorry. But we all do things in the heat of anger and or out of our boundaries that we end up regretting later.
Oh yeah, that's true, but I can't say I've ever drawn an NSFW cartoon of a lass, because she don't want anything to do with me.
No accountability whatsoever, with the cherry on top being Chris implying the only reason she got upset was because she wasn't as sexually mature as him. To make matters worse, a couple of days later, after getting no reply from her for entirely justifiable reasons, he emails her again asking for her to help him out with the ED page. He also mentions he's been trying to remove or work around mentions of her in the article, and his genius way of doing that is concealing her face by zooming into her vagina in the drawing. This once again sparked Megan's ire, who replied, "Look, my main issue is not the website itself, it's just the fact that you drew those weird pictures. Instead of removing that one completely, you just enlarge my crotch. Thanks a lot. Why didn't you just remove it? I don't care how lonely you are. I haven't had luck with relationships either, but I don't boast about being a virgin with rage. When you say things like that, it just makes you sound like you're looking for someone to fuck."
Do you know what, yeah? Honestly, I don't know if I've said this already in the series, yeah? I feel like Chris was a shooter waiting to happen. Like he was like like another Elliot R word. Like I don't want to like get this video flagged, but like I think he's like another shooter in the making. But instead, he decided to just transition to a woman instead.
Yes, I think it's rather amusing how you complain of these people defiling you. Yes, many posts are ridiculous, but you have defiled Mary Lee Walsh and our wonderful security officers who were simply doing their job. Then you defiled me and lied about it. You need to stop with this mindset that the whole world's against you and start taking some responsibility for once. Example, it's wrong to hate these people when you broke the rule by soliciting/loitering. Hey, at least they're doing their job and I support that.
Yeah, so he was, for context, he was in a shopping mall, yeah, and he also had this issue in a campus. He was posting love posters where he was describing what sort of woman he was looking for, and it was so hypocritical because he was saying things like must not be fat, he's fat, must have decent income, he doesn't, must drive, he doesn't, like oh yeah, and must be white.
In many instances during the general story, there are moments where we can sympathize with Chris, but this certainly is not one of them. He continues to email her, blaming everything on ED and claiming he's the resistance against the alien dominators, whatever that means. Worst of all, he begins defending his drawing of She Came for CWC.jpg, saying, as for the drawing itself, I've realized that it was done not only out of inspired fantasy, angst against ED and love for you, but also a major release for my crazy mixed up hormones.
What? Is he going on like he's busted? He's busting with testosterone. He's got so much testosterone. He's on the brink of explosion, like 24/7. He's on steroids. Come on, man. Like I've heard your voice when you're talking, Chris. You don't. If anything, you've got a lack of testosterone.
If I didn't have the foresight to put my pent-up frustrations and feelings in the form of something, I might have become an abusive maniac. So thank God for allowing me to release my bottled-up frustrations in a more positive yet not so politically correct and not physically hurting others method.
Wait, whoa! Is he saying that if he didn't do that drawing, he would have assaulted someone or like what? Let's read that again.
Feelings in the form of something. I've realized that it was done not only out of inspired fantasy, angst against ED and love for you, but also a major release for my crazy mixed up hormones. If I didn't have the foresight to put my pent up frustrations and feelings in the form of something, I might have become an abusive maniac. So thank God for allowing me to release my bottled up frustrations in a more positive yet not so politically correct and not physically hurting others method. So not only is he blameless for the actual drawing, it's actually a good thing he did and should be thanking him for, because if it weren't for She Came for Quickie, he might have raped her or something. Whoa. I don't know exactly what's being implied.
Tom, I think you're right, mate. Pardon me, I just burped. I'm drinking my own strawberry wine / cider. That is deep. He's basically saying, thank God I abused you with this picture and like that you really, really hate and is completely inappropriate. Because if I didn't let out my sexual frustration that way, I could have got aggressive, even more aggressive than he's already being. This is not even funny. I don't even understand what's going on anymore.
What a thing to admit to a girl you're supposedly in love with. He follows us up with claims that he's suffering way more than she is to get her to pity him, which does not work as intended. I can't stress enough how disrespectful it is that he keeps acting like it's somehow ED's fault he drew part of his friend. If that wasn't bad enough, his next email was him complaining to her that she brought the page up again, describing the drawing as a little dirty detail they should both forget about, and that in giving it so much attention, she made his month stressful. He also reiterated...
So he's having a go at her, yeah, because she's unhappy about the drawing, which is she's full within her rights, yeah. Like any woman or even a man would be completely offended at this, yeah. And he's trying to flip it back on her and say, oh, because you're having such a strong reaction to me doing this innocent blah, blah, blah thing, you've made me had a bad month, like trying to guilt trip. Like, this guy is so manipulative.
His lack of regret for drawing the image, just in case it was understated in the previous one. Completely unaware of how deranged he sounds, he closes it off with the following statement. Although I do understand your feelings, and I can only respect your wish of staying away from you, sob, my heart still cries for you. I'll always be worrying about you, and I will always love you, Megan Schroeder. In order to display how contrite he is, he edits ED once again, creating a gallery of images called You Know What? I Hate Me Too, consisting exclusively of drawings from Sonichu wherein Chris was being beat up or hurt in some way.
So he's sorry guys, he's guilt tripping Like, that's not cool, man. I don't like that.
This was not an effective strategy, as a month later, Chris and Megan shared their last email correspondence, with Megan saying she wasn't interested in any more gifts from Chris. And just like that, Chris's most worthwhile acquaintance is alienated because he couldn't resist drawing himself fingering her and putting it up online. After being baptized in the month of May, Chris earns himself a permanent ban from the game place for reasons such as scaring the kids he played card games with, taking his consoles with him into the store and hogging the TV with them, singing Britney Spears during games, among other things. He tried to apologize and appeal the—
Wait, so he's there as a grown-ass man playing flipping card games with like 10-year-olds. Isn't there something weird about that? Like, I'm not saying he's a deviant in that way. I'm not saying that at all, because like there's no evidence for that as far as I'm aware. But like, if I left my kid in a game shop, yeah, to play card games or one of those board games, yeah, and then I come back and there's Chris there, like at the head of the table. I don't know. It would just make me uncomfortable. I don't get me wrong, yeah. I know adults who play board games and card games, yeah, and I've got nothing wrong with that. They're actually quite fun. Like, I got taken along to a shop once where you could go downstairs and you could play on these big tables, and yeah, it was really cool. But like, I mean, like, shouldn't it be kids playing with kids and adults playing with adults? It seems a bit weird to me.
ban along with his parents to no avail, as the manager of the game place, Mike, would just call the cops on them. Much later, he had this to say about Mike. He's hated my guts after multiple times borrowing the store's HD TV for console gameplay. And in subtle retaliation, I hand her out on a cardboard box, Michael loves the F out of Mary Lee Walsh. I tried to protect myself when he found it weeks later after having wrote it. I even convinced myself—
Wait, Mary Walsh is the lass who was taking down his love posters, right? She doesn't even know the owner of this store. They don't even know each other, but because they've become his arch enemies, suddenly they're in love with each other.
I hand her out on a cardboard box, Michael loves the F out of Mary Lee Walsh. I tried to protect myself when he found it weeks later after having wrote it. I even convinced myself that the F meant fiddlesticks. It originally meant fuck. That was why the son of a bitch Jew kicked me out of the game place.
Whoa, he's already displayed racist behavior. Now he's being anti-Semitic. What the hell?
Permanently. After years of loyal volunteer service in the Pokemon TCG League, I had apologized numerously before, but he's still the pig-headed, stubborn he was back then.
You shouldn't, like, that's very sensitive, man. You shouldn't be adding any adjective before the word Jew, really.
Out of all of the isms Chris had expressed up until that point, a dislike of the Jewish people was certainly a new one. With both Megan and the game place now gone from his life, he was in the darkest place he'd ever been. Without any place to escape to and no one to vent to anymore, Chris takes to YouTube to confront Encyclopedia Dramatica and its surrounding community over the article on him, blaming them for his fallout with Megan, all the while very explicitly publicizing that the girl in the drawing he made was her, which most of the time did not know. The video was titled Quickie's Second Message, and it was a certified golden age of YouTube classic. In it, Chris coins terms like pedo-forks when trying to—
Wait, what the— First of all, he's waving that controller like a magic wand, or like he's using it like what do those who are those people in an orchestra who orchestrate the music? Are they called an orchestrator? With that wand, yeah? He's using it to emphasize or cast a spell on people. And what the hell is a pedo fork, yeah? I have no idea, but I don't want to search it because one, I don't want it on my search history. Two, I don't want to see what comes up.
Publicizing that the girl in the drawing he made was her, which most of the time did not know. The video was titled Quickie's Second Message, and it was a certified golden age of YouTube classic. In it, Chris coins terms like pedo-forks when trying to defend himself from pedophile accusations, as well as proclaiming his love for China. Not the country, but his stilted way of saying vagina. Conclusively, he threatens to never release the 7th issue of Sonichu if the ED page wasn't promptly taken down. A little while later, Chris would post another video requesting that people send hate mail to the creator of the page, Jason, closing the video with the iconic line,
"As sure as I am to get at least 1 ounce of vagina, I have your number."
Wait, that's not how it works, Chris. You don't get vagina by the pound, yeah. They come as set pieces, Chris, attached to women. You can't just go and get an ounce of vagina.
And you're going down.
I should mention that for the duration of both of these videos, Chris always held a PS3 controller as he spoke as if it were some kind of regal staff. Through the rest of the month, Chris made and uploaded more videos in the same vein, dictating commands to an imaginary community of loyal followers, telling them the latest Sonichu news and teasing the new issue. In the middle of August, a now octogenarian Bob would make an extremely depressing addition to his letter to future Chris, saying, "Dear Christian, at this time in life, you and Sonichu need a quest and purpose in life.
Yes.
Let Sonichu become a champion for autistic persons everywhere.
Yes.
And continually defeat the perils of autism. Sonichu could become the spokesperson for autistic persons with an ongoing fight for them in chapter after chapter or good deeds on the internet. He could become the spokesperson from now on. You and Sonichu could become famous worldwide." Jesus, I forgot how stupid this story is.
He's encouraging his craziness.
Ways, Bob was right, and Chris would become famous worldwide, just not for being a good role model for autists.
Wait, is he? I love that term, autist. Is he wearing a bra? What the hell's going on?
During the same period, Chris would establish contact with another girl through emails. Her name was Blanca, and she took the initiative in emailing him to show her OC character, Jiggly Amy, a hybrid between Jigglypuff and Amy from Sonic. Of course, they were lying and trolling, and of course, Chris fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And within a single day, he was telling her he was interested in a relationship. Not only that, but he also asked her opinions on porn and asked her to get on a webcam with him. Mr. Chan was in quite the hurry. After uploading,
is it just me? I've never felt comfortable talking about porn with a female, ever. Apart from one lass who was really into porn, and she brought it up. But talking about porn is so awkward with a partner. Like I don't even know if that's just me or what. I rarely even watch porn anymore. I really think it's a dangerous addiction to get into, man. It can lead down some really dark paths for some people. Like, because addiction just gets worse and worse, and you look for a bigger hit. So you'll end up watching more and more deranged stuff. So yeah, I pretty much stick away from porn. And when I do, it's really vanilla stuff. But I've looked into porn addiction, and it's deadly, man. It's just as bad as any other addiction. Whoa, what's this picture? I just feel... What is he doing? I've got to admit, you look pretty sexy there, Chris.
Images of Rosachou drawn naked to the ED article for no particular reason. He does the unthinkable and sends nudes to Blanca. For the sake of accuracy and journalistic integrity, I should make it clear that this wasn't exactly Blanca he sent nudes to.
Wait. Look, just don't send nudes, period, yeah? Period. Don't send nudes, especially with your face in. Because that will last forever, yeah? And even if it's with a partner you trust, yeah, and you send nudes to each other, what if most relationships don't work, yeah, they fall apart, and most of those relationships that fall apart, they end with bitterness and rancor in the air, yeah, and you could get revenge. Well, it's revenge porn, isn't it? Revenge porn. So yeah, don't send nudes, people.
It was someone unrelated to the three trolls behind the original Blanca identity who took it upon himself to pose as her and ask him for nudes, which Chris gracefully obliged. I should also specify that these aren't your regular nudes, but a close-up picture of Chris's penis with a Sonichu drawn on it, along with pictures of Chris wearing his mother's panties. Within a month of the nudes being successfully acquired, they went up on the ED page, much to Chris's despair, who preemptively emailed his church to notify them of it. Blanca's MySpace page would have its About Me section edited to say, "Hello, I am a large, hairy, homosexual black man in a pickle costume. You love me. Pay no mind to my profile pictures. This is the real me." The message is followed by a picture of a man in a pickle suit. In Chris's email to his church, he says he was deceived and that Blanca was a troll, but that was just posturing on his part, as he would hang on to the obviously non-existent Blanca for much longer after this incident, claiming she was real and exchanging emails with the other Blanca accounts. It's also during this roller coaster of a month that he briefly entertains the idea of a love triangle between him, Blanca, and another troll that claimed to be a Sarah Jackson.
Oh, he wishes he was in a love triangle. Oh my word. I don't know if he'd be able to handle that. I don't know if I could handle that.
Fortunately for Sarah, Chris picked Blanca, eventually drawing Sarah getting hit by a truck in one of the later issues of Sonic 2.
Do you see what I mean about Shooter, yeah? Every time something happens, every time something doesn't go his way, yeah, he gets rage, yeah? He gets that autist rage, yeah? Don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against autistic people at all. I'm crazy, so I'm not saying autistic people are crazy, but I'm crazy. So I get mental health conditions, and my brother has autism, and half my family probably do. A lot of my friends have growing up. But this rage that he's got building up inside, it could explode one day into actual violence, because he's drawing out these violent acts and fantasizing over them. So what's to stop him from one day actually carrying through with it? I really do believe he transitioned as a dramatic reaction to his whole life, not being able to find a woman. So if you can't beat him, join him. He could have easily gone the shooter route, and he still could potentially.
The follow,
because he's going to realize that transitioning hasn't solved his problem, like, because he's got deeper issues here.
The news being sent was still going strong, as a whole week later, all of Chris's accounts were hacked and everybody in his contacts list got a copy of the images. Meanwhile, Chris got himself involved in yet another conflict with a troll, this one called Jimmy Hill, who was claiming to be the original creator and IP holder of Sonichu.
No. he's someone did Chris Chan's whole life work, yeah? Everything he's been aiming for, someone's pretended to be the creator of it. He's gonna go ballistic. Just to be clear, yeah, I don't like the fact people are bullying him, but you've got to see that there's humor in it. But like, I feel like the people who are trolling him, that's not cool, man. That's like trolling a little kid, like, because he's got the mental acuity and fortitude of a flipping 5-year-old. He's not all there.
Speaking of Sonichu, around the same time that the 7th edition of the comics were released online, Chris would announce that a video game was in the works. He announced it on his website, saying, "With the Sonichu franchise growing wildly with lots of energetic hype, I'm ready to take Sonichu and my world of Quickieville back to Nintendo of America and Sega of America. And upon the unity in business between Nintendo, the company provided me with my second gaming system, the Game Boy, after my very first Commodore 64 computer, Sega, the company who introduced Sonic the Hedgehog, is not only my lifelong hero after the American Rabbit, but as the true role model icon I am proud to have learned some of my attitudes and beliefs from since 1991, and myself, Christian Weston Chandler, we will make Sonichu and Rosachu and their world being more real than I was able to make them by myself with pen and markers in hand, and a vastly knowledgeable imagination. You won't be able to truly say you've caught them all until you've caught the original Sonichu and Rosachu in a quickie-approved Nintendo/Sega Pokemon Lightning version on GBA and DS to catch a great share of the other currently available 493 Pokemon. And I have the idea for the video game myself, if I can swing that with Sega as well, an epic tale of my tragic adult life straight from my tortured heart and soul. I will bring the pain to the jerk-offs. I will kick Mary Lee Walsh into her cauldron to burn, as well as the other villains. And I will have support from my electric hedgehogs, my mother and father, my closest gal pals who I've grown to love, Megan Schroeder and Anna McLaren, to name a few, sparingly in the game. I plan to have this game alone go multi-console between Nintendo Wii, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3 with downloadable content. And all this can come to fruition with your help, the populace of Sonichu, Rosachu, and Christian Chandler fans. All I ask for in minimum is to contact Nintendo of America and Sega of America by way of posting in their respective forums, sending them emails, and highly recommended handwritten letters to both companies that you want Sonichu and that they should get in touch with me, Christian Weston Chandler, via telephone or snail mail or in person. Both companies have my information in their computers, as I have written to them a number of times in my life.
I bet you have. Like, the thing is, yeah, is he's so good at writing, yeah. He's not as good as me, like, to be big-headed, but he's very good at writing, but he cannot speak to save his life, man. I'm probably going to end the video soon.
In the wake of this catastrophe, a brief opportunity to find solace presented itself to Chris. First, his church got him in contact with a counselor, a particularly patient woman called Rocky, who began accompanying him from a distance through his
thank God, literally, thank God that he got a therapist. Yeah, like, that is exactly what he needs.
Misadventures, for whatever that was worth. But that wasn't all. Someone had been emailing Chris for a while now, a girl named Vivian Gee. Despite being a girl, Chris never gave her his usual CWC treatment for a combination of reasons. She never sent pictures or indulged in his delusions about Sonichu. As a matter of fact, she was the one person who was always consistently realistic and bluntly honest about Chris's situation, which scared him off like the plague, since he only wanted enablers to count on and naysayers to antagonize. While initially acting similar to the other trolls, this quickly gave way to a much more sincere and concerned attitude towards Chris. She was also deeply familiar with the Sonichu comics and held them in a kind of fascination, even making audiobook renditions of every single one of them. In a strange way, during this period, Vivian was one of Chris's only friends, if you could call her that. On the day the news were leaked, she emailed him trying to snap him out of his delusions. I don't know where to begin. I'm not even sure why I'm sending this to you. Listen to me. Listen. No one gives two shits Your pictures are now all on the internet for everyone to see. Tons of celebrities have nudes and they don't care. They are way more popular than you'll ever be, so don't get your fucking panties in a bunch. There are no fans of Sonichu. Sonichu is a bastardization of properties that belong to other people. Your entire comic is pretty much a bastardization of your life.
Whoa.
Sonichu will never get anywhere. Quit your dreams of Sonichu, the game, the comic merchandise, everything now. And if you still feel you need to be creative or whatever bullshit you say, make something completely original. Don't base it off your life. Don't base it off stuff that exists. Just make something completely new. If you quit Sonichu and start working on your real life harder, I'm sure you'll find success. If you stay in your deluded fantasy land, I don't know what you'll become. You have never tried when it comes to women, never. You can't just sit around and wait for it to happen. You have to make it happen. If you can't muster up the courage to do that, then you will never get a wife, let alone a girlfriend. There are places where single men and women go to. I'll let you find them on your own in your area. Take off that medallion. I can't stress this enough. If you do, it will signify your detachment from Sonichu and a brighter future. Forget about all those haters. They don't hate you. They're trolling you. They want to see you become this way. Don't you understand there's no reason for you to get upset at them? That's what they want. If they see you upset, defeated, angry, you're just giving them victory. Your latest comics is a retaliation as a result of that, and they love it. They don't view it as an attack, they view it as a victory. If you feel you can't do any of this, get a therapist. Get a real one. Ask your parents to send you to one. Do something about your life instead of bitch and draw comics about it. Chris, you've got a way to fall, but you can change that. This didn't even get a reply from Chris, so you can imagine how successful an attempt to help him this was. Later on in the month, Chris goes back and
all right. I'm going to end it at that for now. You've been locked into Nuclear Reaction Faction. Subscribe for more. Check out my other content, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.